Hey everyone, welcome to the Fans POV at Katsucon 2013. I'm your host Chrissy, and with us is voice actor Greg Ayres.
Hey, how's it going?
Yay!
Hey, hi, inside the camera.
Well, thank you so much for doing the interview. I know you've
thank
probably
you,
got a
guys.
swamp schedule.
It's bigger the con, the weirder the schedule is sometimes,
Oh,
but it's
sure.
fun. I like press is nice because you get to sit down in a quiet, air-conditioned room. And you're not waiting for a hotel elevator.
Like, everyone be quiet, calm down.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I know this isn't your first Katsucon. You've been to quite a few. How long have you been coming to Katsucon?
I don't even know. I think I've been coming to Katsucon since my second year doing conventions, and I've only missed one since. So I think we said this is like my 10th Katsucon, maybe my 11th. I don't know. I think it's 10. I think I've been to 10 now.
That's a veteran.
That's a lot. Yeah,
I think some of the cosplayers.
There's actually some cons that I've been to like 13 times now, and it's so weird. Yeah, but I love it. I love keep coming back.
Is there anything in particular about, well, maybe not necessarily this con, but any of the cons where you've been quite a long time? Is there anything particular about those cons that draws you?
Yeah. Well, in this con specifically, I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. So like, I have tons of family in this area of the country, and I think this area of the country is gorgeous. It's really funny because when I left Virginia, I swore I'd never go back, and I found out it was just some people I was unfortunate enough to know, and that there were actually really great people in Virginia. And anime fandom is what brought me back to Richmond and back into Virginia. And it's neat because you make friends at one convention, like in this region, and you see those same people at every show in that region. So coming to Katsucon is like the big version of Anime Mid-Atlantic, or the big version of NecoCon, because it's on a larger scale. Yeah, I love returning to conventions. It's the only thing that I would be sad if I ever stopped going to conventions. I know there's some people that this is the only little magical universe that I see people in. So,
well, do you ever see yourself maybe in any? It's probably going to be a while, but would you ever in the near future stop, or is this going to be for the long haul?
Well, it's so weird. I do so many different things. Like I'm also a DJ. I'm now doing music promotion. So I always say I go where the wind takes me, and I can't imagine ever just saying, this is not my world anymore and walking away totally. But I've toyed with the idea of moving overseas recently because of some opportunities there, and I know that would kill my voice acting career. But for the immediate future, no, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I work staff for several I'm actually on staff for several large conventions. So I have people always go, are you going to be at are you going to be at OhioCon? Are you going to be at Boston? I'm like, I have to. I'm on staff. So I don't see myself going anywhere just yet. But I would, given the chance that I've gotten to touch so many people with acting, the idea that I might be able to go do that with music or with art or something else, I like the idea of expanding my family, like this. I've got this whole anime con family, and I do have like a music family now, so maybe one day, but I think I can have my cake and eat it too. I think I could be a music guy and do anime. So
where would the furthest con you've ever been to?
Right now, it's one of my favorite, and it's not the same con, but I went to Middlesbrough, England, which is so far north, it's almost in Scotland. But it's Teasing, which is my first time in England. I had a really bad experience, and which is a shame because my fiance's family is British, and everybody was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had a bad time." And I by a fluke, got invited to this convention in the north, and my friends kept telling me, "You're gonna love it. You're gonna love the north." And I was like, "I've always heard people in London make fun of the north," and they're like, "Oh, because it's a different group of people, it's a different mindset." And they're like, "You love the Midwest, you love the people in the Midwest, you're gonna love the North." And I went, and I just fell in love with everyone there, and it reminded me of being at an anime convention in like 2000, actually, 98 or 2001. It was really like a step backwards in fandom, not in a bad way, but back at a time when we all just loved seeing each other, and like there's no fighting between Gundams versus Avas. It was like, oh yay, big robot, all big robots, you know, like, and it was wonderful to meet people that had so much passion and very little intolerance and whatnot for each other, and I just fell in love with the town and the people, and I have lots of really great friends there. So far England, but I do know there's a convention in Australia, and I really want to go to Australia, specifically Perth, Australia. But so far England, and it was a wonderful experience. I go into Canada pretty regularly, and I DJ in Canada, and I love that. I go to Winnipeg, which is not the bigger city, but it's my favorite, and so yeah, I love traveling internationally. Definitely, it's a lot of fun.
That's a lot further than I expected you to
yeah,
say.
Middlesbrough.
I'm
Some
expecting
people
you
have
to
gone even further. Yeah,
Wow.
some people have gone even further than that.
Yeah. Well, to get off the cons, I know your brother Chris is also a voice actor.
Yeah.
Was who started first? And
I started in voice acting first, but he started acting first. Okay. My brother's one of those guys that like always knew he wanted to be an actor. He like practically came out of the womb with a top hat and a cane, like on stage and tap shoes. And I was the little ADD kid that like, I want to be a skater, I want to be a horseback rider, I want to be a gymnast, I want to be a fire truck, like, and I was actually I was on a junior Olympics team and was studying gymnastics very seriously, and my brother was auditioning for some show, The King and I, at the Swift Creek Mill Playhouse in Virginia, and I was just doing flips in the parking lot because that's what I did, and the director had stepped outside to smoke a cigarette during auditions, and he just saw this little kid flipping all over the grass and on the concrete, and he walked over and asked my parents, he's like, when is this young man going to come in and audition? And they're like, oh no, his brother Chris Ayres, he's auditioning. And I must have been like 7, so I guess Chris was 10, and maybe even 6. My brother could have been younger than that. And he goes, well, we need somebody to come in and do acrobatics. And I'm like, no, this is just what he does, you know, like. And so I went in and I got cast in this show called The King and I, and there was one scene where the kids act ridiculous, and I just did flips all over the stage, and just looked like an unruly little jumping bean kid, and being on stage and being dressed up in a costume and all was so, like, as a little kid, it's just the coolest thing in the world. And so I started doing that. Well, then flash forward many years later, and I started working in voice acting just because I have this weird voice. And my brother's friends were in the original crew of ADV voice actors, Amanda Wynn Lee, Spike Spencer, all those guys. Spike Spencer was my brother's best friend in college. Like, I mean, so he was in that Houston theater group that spawned like so many of the original actors. And I liked anime, but I watched, of course, everything subtitled. So I was like, well, they do dubs, you know, whatever. So I never even thought too much about it. Well, then I started working in the industry, and I'm like, Chris, you need to go audition. He goes, oh, well, I auditioned a long time ago when Amanda was directing. And I'm like, but none of those directors are still there. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I didn't get in. And I'm like, this isn't like a show. We rehearse, we audition people constantly. And so he kept saying he was going to do it, he was going to do it. And finally, I just called our booking person. I dialed the phone and I handed it to him. I'm like, come on, dude, just book an audition. And he went in and just, you know, killed it. And he's been working ever since. Now he's a director for anime production house, Sentai Filmworks. And he still gets to do a little bit of acting, but he's really mainly a director now, which is cool. He loves it. He loves overseeing the whole production, and he went through that with performance too. Like, he was a stage actor for a long time, and then he started directing. So like, he had somebody always asks, well, what is it like to be directed by your brother? And I'm like, myself, Monica Rial, Chris Patton, we've all been directed by my brother on stage, because, you know, my brother directed us in Rocky Horror Show and Cabaret and Runaways and all these stage productions. So it's funny, he did the same thing, you know, in the voice acting field. He started as an actor and he eventually ended up in a director's position. It's funny, and he and Nabashin now are like hilarious. I think it's because they both have loud taste in clothing, but yeah, so it's funny. But yeah, we always say he dragged me on the stage and I dragged him behind the mic. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Should be interesting family gatherings.
Always, always.
With anime, they're doing a lot of them. I know over in Japan right now. Is there any particular anime you would like to see turned into a live action series?
Yes. Oh my god.
Because they just did Outrun. They did Outrun,
yeah.
which everyone freaked out on.
Yeah. Well, they did Beck too, and the Beck live action is superb. I've never watched it because I've never gotten to see the whole thing because I won't watch anything illegally. But I've seen the trailer for it, and every single character looks just like the animated character, and the reviews in Japan are amazing for it. There's I don't think, when people will say, Cowboy Bebop would be great or Trigun would be great, I don't think any of those titles lend themselves to live action quite as coolly as the show Speedgrapher. Okay. I think Speedgrapher is, part dirty, Eyes Wide Shut, part X-Files, and the monsters in that movie are just bizarre enough that they would be interesting on screen. I think it would be super cool to see that show fully, visualized, but there's a few others, so many shows that don't, we've got now this big new style of anime that's this love storytelling. I think Clannad would work perfectly as a little, lovey-dovey movie. I think some of those titles, some of the more, more softer titles would be well, but Speedgrapher is the one I really would love to see. They did Gantz as well, so, they're starting to do that with some titles, so hopefully that'll be a trend that continues. I saw footage, or I saw pictures from the Negima live action, and it looked very bizarre. I was like,
They do things a little bit differently than we do.
Definitely.
All right. On Twitter recently, you posted that you are doing a new project. Is there any hints you can give us? Because I'm sure the fans would be interested.
I wish I could talk. It's the most painful thing about this job. It killed me with Dead Man Wonderland too, because one, we never ever thought that would be on television, and we were told we weren't going to even be able to talk about it until September of this last year, and then in the middle of the summer it was announced that it was going to be on Toonami, and the whole cat was out of the bag, and I was like, oh, I was going to tell people I was in that. I can say this, I've got to be very careful about how I describe this show, because I could say one wrong thing and it would give the entire title away.
Some of those.
But it is a very interesting show, and it's a show that is not going to be for everybody, because much like Sayuki Gaiden right now, I think people that thought Gaiden was going to be funny, like the original Sayuki, and didn't plan on crying for 3 hours.
I haven't seen it yet. I wish.
It's really good, but it's very, some titles are very sad, and so this new title is depressing. Very depressing.
Okay.
And it doesn't stay that way forever, but it is not a sunshine and unicorns show at all. Okay. But my favorite characters, I always say, there's some actors that only ever want to be the lead at everything. And I say, sometimes the lead isn't even the most interesting character. And for me, interesting and neat storyline and the way a plot turns over is the most important thing, and this title has those things. This is a title that if you can stomach the subject matter, you will be in for a few moments during the show. So I can't really say much about it. It's a really neat concept though, and I will hint at it as time goes by. My favorite thing about it is I did it for Sentai Filmworks, and we roll stuff out fast. Sentai stuff that we do for Sentai comes out of the cannon quick, so it'll probably be out pretty soon. I only have one more session and I'll be done with the show, which is sad because I'm it's over. Oh, okay, well I love that. That's the nature of this job. So hopefully it'll be out soon, and just keep an eye on Twitter because I'll be talking more about it as I can.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, not at all, not at all.
We got one last question.
Great.
We get a lot of our questions from the fans.
Oh, awesome. That's
great. We like to give the actors a chance to ask the fans a question. So So is there anything in particular?
Awesome.
I know it's always a hard choice, but anything off the top of your head you want to ask the fans?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question, and I don't think fans understand how much of what they say gets back to Japan. So I would ask fans if there is a story or a type of story or even a genre of anime that you would most like to see, or if you could ask or request the Japanese for one type of title or one specific title, what would it be? Would it be a supernatural anime? Would it be a Harry Potter anime? Would it be... I've always said I think it would be cool if they did an anime title of the two characters from Daft Punk, and they the two robots, and they had to solve these musical crimes. But yeah, what would you like to see Japan come out with? I think it's a cool question. So,
okay. All right.
Well, thank you guys. This was fun.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Definitely.
We will see you guys later. Later.